Why are Kitniyos kosher for Sephardim during Pesach, but not for Ashkenazim? How can a food be kosher for one group of people, but not for another?
This is really a question for a Rav. It's a halachic question. It's not a theological question, and this is not my field. But it's not true. If it's kosher for Sephardim, it's kosher for Ashkenazim. If it's not kosher for Ashkenazim, it's not kosher for Sephardim. The point is that there are certain takonis that the Chachamim made, that the rabbis made, in the category of asus yagla Torah, to make a fence around the Torah. And some of these fences were adopted by certain communities, and other of those fences were not adopted by certain communities. Eating rice and Pesach is one of innumerable examples. How about eating grasshoppers, insects? The Ashkenazim don't eat insects, Sephardim do eat insects. Insects are kosher. It says in the Chumash that they're kosher. And yet Ashkenazim don't eat them, and Sephardim do. It's not that it's not kosher for Ashkenazim, it's that the Ashkenazim, for whatever reason, the Chachamim decided that they should make a gzeira, and not, God forbid, they're adding to the Torah. In the parameters of asus yoga Torah, make a fence around the Torah to perturb, what does it say? The dodem syagla precious. When you make a fence, you preserve the ikir, the core, the true deiraisa, more completely, and therefore there are things which Ashkenazim prohibit and Sephardim permit. Another example would be matzah. We make matzahs paper thin, hard like cardboard. Matzahs can be a tefach thick. Matzahs can be chewy. Matzah can be pita. And yet you would never see an Ashkenazi eating a matzah like that, and Sephardim do. It's not chas v'sholom that it's not kosher for an Ashkenazi. It's that we take on certain chumras that the Sephardim did not adapt. But if something is not allowed, it's not allowed for anybody. And something is permitted, it's permitted for everybody. The point is that when you belong to a certain community, and your community adopted a certain chumrah, you really cannot opt out. Because the Chachamim have a koyach, the rabbis have a power. Chachamim asu chizuk devreim yesem edivrei Torah. God Almighty gave an authority to the rabbis. Certainly the rabbis of the Shas, of the Gemara, but even medieval rabbis of the Rishonim, that when they made certain gezeiras, they become binding, and they become binding in such a way that you don't have you don't have to pick. You don't get to decide, I want to do it, I don't want to do it. Once Ashkenazim took upon themselves not to eat rice on Pesach, for example, it's not allowed to eat rice on Pesach. But it doesn't, and you can't, if you're an Ashkenazi Jew and you eat rice on Pesach, it's a very, very big Aveda. You're not chayiv kodesh, you didn't eat chametz, but it's a very, very serious offense. Because the power of the rabbis is binding on all of us. And if I can use a mystical criteria to enhance it, I would put it to you this way. The Alter Rebbe in Tanya makes it very clear that today for food, non-kosher food, is sholosh kupas atmeis gamri, is the worst kind of klip. Kosher food is a lesser kind of klip. When rabbis make a kosher food not kosher, for example, chicken and milk is allowed to be eaten min Torah. The Chachamim said you're not allowed to eat chicken with milk, and there was a rabbi named Rabbi Yossi Aglili who permitted people to eat chicken with milk. Once the halacha became that you're not allowed to eat chicken with milk, the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, the chayis, the vitality of this food is from sholosh klipas atmeis lagamri. When the rabbis enact a gzeira against a food that until a certain point was kosher, they change its reality on a mystical level. Before they made that gzeira, it was living from klipas nega, and after they made that gzeira, it's living from sholosh klipas atmeis lagamri. It's metamad the nefesh and so forth. Now, of course, your next question is going to be: so does that mean that rice and Pesach is klipas nega for Sephardim and sholosh klipas atmeis for Ashkenazim? This is a very complicated question, because you could even ask the same question about chametz and Pesach, because it's a davar sheyesh lematidin. If after Pesach bread becomes klipas nega, so is the sholosh klipas atmeis lagamri on Pesach itself? So we'll leave that alone.